Okay, now the other part or other country, that is Sri Lanka, which is very near or one of our neighboring countries. So Sri Lanka is also about the same size of Haryana, and Sri Lanka, the population composition was also different. What happens in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka has two main groups of people. One is called Sinhala speakers and another is called Tamil speakers. Sinhala speakers consist of 74% and the Tamil 18%. Again, there is a difference or division between the Tamil speakers, that is the Sri Lankan Tamils, that is those Tamil people who originally belong to Sri Lanka, and another one Indian Tamils, or that those who had migrated to Sri Lanka during the British period, especially for better jobs, or may be taken as bonded labor, which you have learned in class 10's history. Bonded labor, that is without peace, made to work like slaves, one kind of slavery system itself. Okay, so that is of history. So here in Sri Lanka, what happened after independence, that is in 1948, the government was formed, and as the Sinhala people were in majority in Sri Lanka, so they got the maximum numbers of seats and they formed the government. And as soon as they formed the government, they began to think, that is the Sinhala people, they began to think that we are in majority, so the government should work for our benefit, that is the Sinhala community, not for the other people. They will be staying here, but we will work, or the government will work for our betterment. And so what happened? They started a policy. The government started a policy that is called majoritarianism. Majoritarianism means the government will work for the betterment of the majority people. So in this way, what happened? The Sinhala people began to get much advantages from the government, say education, say jobs, seats in colleges, universities, everywhere the Sinhala people were given preference. So definitely the other people began to feel alienated or left out by the government. They began to think that our problems are not looked after, or we are not looked after by the government. So in this way, tension began in Sri Lanka. There, the government, as soon as they formed the government, they also began to impose certain restrictions or began to give preference to the religion of the Sinhalas, that is Buddhism. And in this way, Buddhism became the state religion. Though there were other religions also, like Christians, Muslims, Hindus, all were there, but the government began to foster or work for the betterment of Buddhism. So all these things was enough to create tension in Sri Lanka. So they began to form unions and they began to tell the government that give us importance, give preference to us also, make arrangements so that our people can also improve. But the government did not heed to the appeals of the people. So day by day, the resentment began to grow, and they began to intensify. Intensify means increase the resistance of the other people. And they began to demand that the provinces where the Sri Lankan Tamils or Indian Tamils, that is the Tamils, were in majority, those areas should be given autonomous councils, or you can say they need different status. They want their own government there, which was rejected by the government. And in this way, the classes or the resentment increased, and it led to civil war. Civil war means when inside the country some people or group of people take up armed rebellion against the government, it is called civil war. So now what happened? Lots of classes. And all these things happened under an organization that is known as LTTE. LTTE. That is the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. I repeat, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. Elam means state. That is, they want separate state or country. And this group was led by a leader who was known as V. Pavakaran. To add to your knowledge, this LTTT was a rebellion group, and they acquired a lot of strength. They had tanks, aircrafts, and everything. And they would have captured power in Sri Lanka. But due to the intervention of Indian government, that they failed to be in power, and Sri Lanka was saved from the LTTE. Otherwise, the picture of Sri Lanka would have been different today. So these tensions in Sri Lanka continued and ended in 2009. Till 2009, there was lot of tension in Sri Lanka. And then gradually it changed. But even today, the state language of Sri Lanka, which is known to you, is Boteja. The next part, that is how accommodation was made possible in Belgium and why power sharing is necessary, I will tell later on. Thank you.